you are somebody who can't wait until they get their first sale on Etsy, or maybe you've made your first sale and are looking to get your first 10 sales, 100 sales, 500 sales, and so on, then you are gonna wanna watch this video all the way through, because in this video, I'm going to be sharing the 8 pillars that I have focused on within my Etsy and print-on-demand business to scale it to earning over 6 figures in revenue. And these are the same 8 pillars that I focus on with all of my coaching students that have led many of them to getting their first sales or 10, 100, 500 plus sales as well. How I like to think of these 8 pillars is that they are like dominoes, and it is important that they are going to be lined up perfectly. We are putting attention and detail into every single one, because if one domino is off, then it can affect the entire process. If you are new to my channel, my name is Taylor, and my channel is focused on all things Etsy and print on demand. And here on my channel, I share my experience as an Etsy seller, as well as share just helpful tips and tricks from my experiences along the way to help you as well. The first pillar that I focus on is shop branding. You might be wondering, what is shop branding? Well, I consider shop branding to be your shop logo, your shop banner, and also your listing images. The listing images that I feel contribute the most to your shop branding are things like size charts, color charts, any information about your shop policies, as well as any additional information that you may be including about the product type that you're selling. All of these components contribute to the visual that your shop is giving when a customer is looking at your shop storefront, or also just any of your individual listings. And it's important that all of these elements have a very cohesive feel, as that is something that is going to help significantly with conversion rate. I want you to just take a look at this shop here and also this shop here. What you may notice, the big difference between these two shops is that this shop does not have any clear shop branding, and this shop does. For a new shop on Etsy, this shop branding element is something that I focus on and I feel is so important, because as a new shop, you do not have many sales or reviews yet. Visuals are the only way that we are able to gain our customers' trust. So all of these visual components that make up that shop branding are what is going to get your customer to say yes to your product and actually make that sale. Shop branding does not have to take long to do. I personally find that the easiest way to do it is to go directly into Canva. And in Canva, you can create a new design with a custom size. What I personally love about Canva, when you type in your dimensions and you open up your new design, you are able to see tons of already pre-made templates that are available to you in the dimensions that you're looking for. This makes creating that shop branding super easy, because you can just find a template that you already like and maybe just make a few minor adjustments so that it reflects what you want your shop to look like. It's important that in your shop branding, you are including similar color schemes or a color palette that you're picking from each time, as well as similar fonts. This is what gives that professional, cohesive look, and again, ultimately is going to help increase your conversion rate as a new shop on Etsy. The second pillar is shop policies. The standard shop policy that is kind of in the print-on-demand community is no returns and no exchanges. However, I have a little bit of a different opinion on this matter, and it is just specifically for new shops. What I find to be extremely beneficial when scaling a new Etsy shop is to be flexible to those returns and exchanges. The reason being, and similar to what I mentioned with shop branding, is you have little to no sales or reviews yet. And so a customer is less likely to trust your shop and to convert on your product listing. However, a customer is going to be more likely to convert on that product if this shop is open to those returns and exchanges. Now, I know that the reason that many people don't want to offer returns or exchanges is because they don't want to miss out on their profit. They don't want to deal with that hassle. In my experience, the only reason I've ever had a customer reach out about a return or an exchange is because there was something actually wrong with the item that they received. With that, I am somebody who uses Printify as one of my main print providers, and anytime I've ever experienced an issue with any product that I've sold, when I submit that issue to Printify, Printify takes care of it in usually less than 24 hours. And so that might look like sending out a new product to the customer if that was what they were looking for because the product was damaged or not how they were anticipating it to look, or refunding the payment to myself in my Printify account. And then that way I am able to refund my customer directly through Etsy. As far as how long I recommend offering returns and exchanges in a new Etsy shop is until a new Etsy shop has reached their first 100 sales. The reason that I say 100 sales. It's not just some random number. There's a method behind the madness, but with 100 sales, generally a really good goal should be that you have 20 to 30 reviews for those first 100 sales. And in order to achieve that, that might look like reaching out to customers after they've received their item, after it's been marked delivered, and asking them for their feedback in the form of a review. This is something that you can do as a best practice as you begin to get sales. And then after those first 100 sales, you will have a good amount of reviews under your shop name, and that alone is going to help with your conversion rate in your shop. So at that point, if you wanted to be a little bit more rigid in your return and exchange policy, that's when I would implement that strategy. The third pillar is product types. The biggest mistake that I see new shops make is they have a teensy bit of shiny object syndrome. What is shiny object syndrome? This is when you are product hopping, looking at one product, designing for one product, and then you see maybe a video talking about another product type. Then you leave, abandon the first product type that you were looking at, jump to the next one, and you repeat that process. What that ends up looking like is a shop that doesn't really have a rhyme or reason to anything that is in it. It's going to be very important for the growth of your business to really master one product type at a time. The other thing to consider with your product types is that you want to make sure that you are using a reputable print provider. As a new shop, you are going to want to make sure that your products are competitively priced to what others are selling their products for in the same product categories and niches that you're selling in. And so with that, I will always recommend Printify for any new shop and new seller on Etsy. Printify is by far the cheapest all-around pricing that you are going to find for any product types with print on demand. And the reliability that Printify provides by working with a network of print providers is just unbeatable because you don't have to worry about issues with stock or anything like that. There's no worse feeling than if you were to make your first sale and then you find out that the item that was purchased is out of stock and you wouldn't be able to fulfill that order. With Printify, you would not have to worry about that. There are tons of different print providers in their network that you would be able to utilize so that you're always going to be able to fulfill an order. And I can speak on just coming out of the Q4 season where it was the busiest and often stock issues are at the highest because of the demand. I did not experience a single stock issue in the entire Q4 season, which is incredible and absolutely impressive. Printify did a fantastic job. All of the print providers in their network did a fantastic job. And that is why I highly encourage using them as your print provider when you're first starting out. I do have a link in the description box below that will get you started with Printify, as well as I've linked Printify's bootcamp, which if you weren't familiar with, Printify does have their own course, and it is actually only $17 if you use the code TaylorPOD, which gets you 70% off. And in this course, it will walk you through all of the fundamentals, all of the foundations to getting started with print on demand. The reason that I recommend their bootcamp is because they actually have a guarantee that if you do not make your first 10 sales within your first 3 months of completing the bootcamp, then you actually get your money back for the course. So I just feel that that is such a testament to the knowledge that's provided in that course and that you will get those first 10 sales just by learning the information that is provided in that course. So again, I will have the link to that in the description box below. The fourth pillar is niches. With this pillar, I like to focus on those who are looking to create more of a general store, which a general store is one that is creating for multiple different niches. The important thing to consider when you are designing for multiple different niches is that you should be building each of those niches out. What that would look like, instead of just creating one design for one niche and putting it on a product, I would encourage you to create a minimum of 25 designs for that niche. What that's going to allow you to do is start to collect some data as to what is and isn't working. I often look at selling on Etsy and just e-commerce in general like this ginormous science experiment. And anytime you conduct a science experiment, data is so important. And the more data that you have, have, the more accurate your results are. We can bring that same concept to our Etsy shop. What I would encourage you to do with those 25 designs is start to look at the data that you're receiving from Etsy for any of those different designs and listings that you've created, which are starting to get more views, which are starting to maybe get some favorites, and better yet, are any of them getting sales? The more you begin to analyze this type of data that's coming in to you from your Etsy shop, the more you are going to be able to carve out a more specific path that's going to lead you to scaling and getting those sales much faster. The fifth pillar that I focus on is product design. Now, I have an entire free mini course that talks about design and establishing what qualifies as a good and not so good design, what are some things to look for, how to determine which colors go together, fonts as well. And I'll have that linked below in the description. It is called Design Kickstart. But I wanted to touch on the biggest mistake that I see many new sellers make with their designs. And it is that they are either creating something that is too similar to what is already selling, or they are creating something that is far too different than what is already selling. And I know that is opposite extremes. It sounds confusing, but let me explain. When we create designs that are too similar to what is already selling, it's going to be very difficult to stand out. The design that we created that is already too similar to a bestseller isn't going to get the sales like that bestseller, because that bestseller has already paved their own path. They've already built the market on that design, and our small new shop just isn't going to stand a chance. And then on the contrary, where we have the designs that are just far too different from what is already selling, oftentimes as a beginner, we don't always have a design experience when we start this business model. And that is the wonderful thing about print on demand is you don't have to be a designer. I am not a graphic designer. Anything that I've learned with design has just been from practice and from watching others' tutorials and tips and tricks types of videos about designing. As a new seller, when we create something that is just super unique and super different, a lot of times because we don't have that graphic design background, it isn't the best design, and it's usually just not the most aesthetically pleasing. What we should try to do is find somewhere in the middle where we are looking at those best-selling designs and we are looking at what is successful within them. Maybe it's a specific color palette, a specific font style, or maybe it is a specific layout of the design. And then we want to create our own unique design that incorporates elements that we see amongst bestsellers. The best way that I found to create designs that sell really well is to actually find designs that are bestsellers in niches that are completely unrelated to the niches that I sell in. What this might look like is maybe I find a design that is for somebody who loves baking. I can identify those different elements within that design, again, such as the color palettes, fonts, how it's laid out, and bring that to the book lover niche as an example. This would be bringing something that is proven as a great design style and trend. However, it's something that hasn't been brought to that new niche. The next pillar is mock-up quality. Now, I cannot emphasize this enough. It is so important that you are putting those designs that you're creating and spending time working on a high quality mock-up. Just like we discussed earlier, where we talked about shop branding and how important that visual component is, your mock-ups play into that visual component as well. And we want to make sure that your product is being represented in the best way. As a new seller, it can be a little bit intimidating to go and purchase mock-ups individually. And so as a new seller, what I first did when I began my Etsy shop is I actually used Placeit. How Placeit works is they are actually a subscription type service where you just pay a low monthly fee and then you have access to all of the mockups in their catalog. So if you're a little bit undecided as to what product types you're looking to sell, or maybe you're looking to sell multiple product types in your store, Placeit will be a really great option because you'll have access to all different product types. And they even have video mockups as well, which if you weren't familiar, if you're ever on Etsy and you're scrolling through the search results, you will actually find that when you hover over any particular listing, if they have a video in their listing, that video will begin to play. And it's a great way to showcase your product, often in different product colors or variations, or just give information about your shop and about the product. With that being said, Placeit is going to be probably the best one-stop shop for you as it comes to mock-ups and mock-up videos, as well as it's going to be the best bang for your buck because you only pay the monthly fee and then you have access to thousands of different mock-ups, compared to if you were to purchase mockups on Etsy, which can be relatively low in price, but if you're purchasing multiple as a new seller, it can begin to get costly and start to add up. Another thing that I wanted to mention is that it is very important to be placing your designs properly on your mockup images. So if you were to be using Placeit, when you do put your design on the mockups through their website, it is actually going to automatically place the design so that it matches the item that you're putting it on. So for example, if it is a t-shirt and the t-shirt is of course formed to the model's body, maybe that's in the mockup, it's going to adjust the design so that it actually looks natural on the product. And so it doesn't look like some random flat image that has just been plopped right on top of another picture. The seventh pillar is SEO, or better known as search engine optimization. This is a whole beast in itself, and I actually have an entire dedicated video to SEO and my process, as well as a whole mini course as well that is free, a free mini course that you can take to walk through SEO, how it works, how the Etsy algorithm works. But just to sum up, a best practice that I see with SEO is it's very important to think about who would be buying the product that you're selling. You want to put yourself in the shoes of that customer and really visualize who that ideal customer is. When you put yourself in the perspective of the customer, it's important to start thinking about what that ideal customer is going to be typing in the Etsy search bar. The types of phrases that you imagine your ideal customer typing into the search bar are the types of keywords and phrases that you want to target in your title and your tags of your listing. A big mistake that I see many new sellers make is that in their title and their tags, they're using words that just describe what they're selling. A common example of this is if they are selling any type of item that has a quote or phrase on it, they then take that quote or phrase and put it right in the front of their title. And generally, a customer isn't actually searching for that quote or phrase. They're searching for a more broad, general search result. And then when they stumble upon your item with that phrase on it, they see it, they like it, they buy it. The final pillar that has been the most pivotal in my success story with Etsy and print on demand is mindset. The only reason that I feel that I have had the success that I've had with selling on Etsy is because of the mindset that I've had along the way, and I've believed in myself every single step of the way, which I know kind of sounds really cringy and corny, like, oh, just believe in yourself and you can do it too. I'm not trying to sound like a total cornball right now, but the mindset that I had when I first started my Etsy shop was that I was going to master creating and listing products. I was completely focused on the process and I wasn't focused on the end result. I knew that if I focused on the process, if I could just get better at designing, get better at listing, get more efficient in my processes, that the result would come, and that would definitely be a great added perk. However, I wasn't attached to that end result. I find that when a new seller is more so attached to that goal, that they often lose sight of what's going to get them there. And that instant gratification that they're looking for, it does not happen overnight. And success on Etsy does not happen overnight, which leads them to feeling discouraged and ultimately just giving up and quitting. A graph that I've shared before is this right here. And this just looks at the input versus the output that you'll typically see with a print-on-demand business. The input generally is significantly higher for a period of time. And most sellers are going to get discouraged in this phase because they're putting in a lot of work. They're doing a lot of listings, creating a lot of designs, and they're not getting the reward or not seeing the reward quite yet. But the reason that I share this graph is because you'll see that as that output does start to climb, the input goes down as well. And so all of that hard work in the beginning truly begins to compound with time. And the reward is there. You just have to be patient enough to get there. Those who will persevere, those who will be persistent and consistent in their Etsy and print on demand businesses are the individuals who will see success and who will get sales. And I already know if you've made it to this point in the video that that is you. You are part of that 1% that isn't going to quit and is going to continue to push forward. And for that, you will find success with this business model because you have the right mindset. Now, I also have a small, quick little announcement that I wanted to share with you, and that is that I am going to be opening up a mentorship program in the new year. But if you're somebody who is looking for a community with one-on-one support directly from myself in the new year to maybe keep you accountable or to just get feedback throughout your journey with Etsy and print on demand, then I will have a link to a wait list down below so that you'll be the first to know when that mentorship program comes out. And hopefully I will see you in that mentorship group in 2024. As always, I hope you're having a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world, and I will see you in the next one.